From the devastating Springfield Model 1861 to the bizarre Wynon steam gun, these are the weapons that turned everyday citizens into hardened soldiers who fought the bloodiest war in American history. Every rifle, revolver, cannon, and blade. Springfield Model 1861, the quintessential infantryman's weapon of the Civil War. This .58 caliber rifled musket fired the devastating Minié ball with lethal accuracy at ranges beyond 500 yards. More than 700,000 were produced, making it the backbone of Union infantry throughout the conflict. Pattern 1853, Enfield, the British import that armed both sides. This .577 caliber rifled musket was considered the finest infantry weapon in the world when war erupted in 1861. Both Union and Confederate forces purchased over 900,000 of these reliable workhorses. Springfield Model 1863, a refined version of the 1861 with improved barrel bands and lock mechanism. It maintained the same .58 caliber punch while streamlining production for wartime. Efficiency. Lorenz rifle, Austria's contribution to American bloodshed. This .54 to .58 caliber rifled musket became the third most common long arm of the war. Many were modified to fire standard .58 caliber ammunition, allowing interchangeable rounds with Springfield and Enfield rifles. Richmond rifled musket, the Confederate answer to Northern production. Manufactured at Richmond Armory in Virginia, this was essentially a Springfield Model 1855 without the Maynard tape primer. It gave Southern forces domestically produced firepower when imports failed. Mississippi Model 1841 rifle, a two-band rifle with a distinctive sword bayonet. Issued primarily to Confederate NCOs, this .54 caliber weapon earned its name from its use by Jefferson Davis's Mississippi Regiment during the Mexican War. Its shorter length made it popular for specialized units. Springfield Model 1855, the first standard-issue rifled musket featuring the innovative Maynard tape primer system. This .58 caliber weapon introduced the percussion cap tape that fed automatically, though it proved unreliable in damp conditions and was abandoned in later models. Fayetteville rifle, another Confederate-manufactured rifle produced in North Carolina. Based on the Springfield design but adapted for Southern manufacturing capabilities, it represented the Confederacy's desperate push for weapons independence. Springfield Model 1842, the last .69 caliber smoothbore musket produced by the United States. Many were rifled before the war, transforming obsolete muskets into serviceable rifles capable of firing Minié balls. Whitworth rifle, the world's first true sniper rifle. This British hexagonal bore rifle could kill at over 1 out of 500 yards with devastating precision. Confederate sharpshooters prized these rare weapons, using them to terrorize Union officers from impossible distances. Harper's Ferry Model 1803 rifle, an antiquated .54 caliber flintlock that saw limited Confederate use. Many were converted to percussion cap, extending their service life into a war they were never designed to fight. Springfield Model 1816, old flintlock muskets converted to percussion and sometimes rifled. The quality varied wildly depending on the manufacturer, but desperate armies used whatever firearms they could acquire. Charleville musket, French smoothbores dating back to the Revolutionary War era. These ancient weapons were converted from flintlock to percussion cap and pressed into Confederate service when nothing else was available. Brown Bess musket, British flintlocks from the 18th century, converted to percussion cap. The sight of Revolutionary War-era muskets on Civil War battlefields spoke to the Confederacy's desperate shortage of modern arms. Next on the list is repeating rifles and breech loaders. Henry repeating rifle. The precursor to the Winchester, this lever-action marvel fired 16 rounds of .44 rimfire ammunition. Union soldiers who could afford the steep $40 price tag purchased them, privately, giving them devastating firepower. Some Confederates called them that damned Yankee rifle you load on Sunday and shoot all week. Spencer repeating rifle, a manually operated lever action that held 7 .52 caliber rounds in a tube magazine. Adopted as the Union cavalry's official weapon in 1864, It allowed troopers to maintain withering fire during mounted engagements. Sharp's rifle, a falling block breech loader famous in the hands of Berdan's sharpshooters. This single-shot rifle fired 52 caliber rounds with exceptional accuracy. Its faster reload time gave marksmen a significant advantage over muzzle-loading opponents. Sharp's carbine, the most popular cavalry weapon of the war. This shorter version of the Sharp's rifle fired 52 caliber ammunition and could be loaded and fired from horseback. Over 80,000 saw service with Union cavalry. Spencer repeating carbine, a lighter, shorter version designed specifically for cavalry work. The 7-shot tube magazine transformed mounted warfare, allowing cavalrymen to maintain continuous fire during charges and pursuits. Burnside Model 1855 carbine, invented by Ambrose Burnside before he became a controversial general. This single-shot breech loader used a unique tapered cartridge. Nearly 56,000 were purchased by the Union, making it the third most common carbine. Smith carbine. Patented by Gilbert Smith in 1857, this single-shot breech loader featured a hinged barrel. Federal cavalry purchased over 30,000 for mounted operations. Colt revolving carbine, an early repeater that cavalry units quickly learned to hate. The weapon had a dangerous tendency to discharge all chambers simultaneously, injuring the shooter's forward hand. Most were withdrawn from service. Gallagher Model 1861 carbine, a brass-framed breech loader with 17,782 sold to Union forces. Its simple design made it reliable in the dust and mud of cavalry operations. Joslin carbine, manufactured in both percussion and rimfire configurations. This single-shot breech loader saw service primarily with Union cavalry in the Western Theater. Maynard Model 1851 carbine used the innovative Maynard tape primer before it was incorporated into Springfield rifles. Cavalry units valued its quick-loading design during mounted combat. Merrill Model 1858 carbine, a lever-action breech loader purchased in quantities exceeding 14,000. The brass frame made it lighter for cavalry work. Star carbine, a falling block design that cavalry troopers appreciated for its reliability. Over 25,000 entered service with Union mounted forces. Wesson carbine. The Model 1859 was a breech-loading metallic rimfire weapon used during both the Civil War and later Indian Wars. Cavalry typically purchased them through state governments. Tarpley carbine, a southern breech loader that mechanical flaws prevented from widespread production. The few manufactured saw limited Confederate cavalry use. Moving on to musketoons. Enfield Model 1861. Musketoon, a shortened version of the pattern 1853 rifle designed for artillery crews and sailors. The compact design made it easier to handle in cramped conditions while maintaining respectable firepower. Springfield Model 1847 Musketoon, an older smoothbore design that saw continued service with artillery units. Its short barrel allowed crews to defend their guns during close-quarters fighting. Colt Model 1860 Army revolver, the most commonly used revolver of the entire war. This 44 caliber 6-shot percussion revolver saw over 200,000 manufactured, with 127,156 purchased by the U.S. government. Union cavalry relied on it as their primary sidearm. Colt Model 1851 Navy revolver, the preferred Confederate sidearm. This 36 caliber 6-shooter featured an engraved cylinder showing the Battle of Campeche, so popular that Confederate manufacturers produced copies like the Griswold and Gunnison when supplies ran short. Remington Model 1858 revolver, Colt's chief competitor. This 44 caliber Army model featured a solid top strap that made it stronger than Colt designs. The Navy version in .36 caliber also saw extensive service. LeMat revolver, perhaps the most exotic Confederate pistol. This French-designed weapon featured a .42 caliber revolver cylinder with 9 chambers mounted above a 20-gauge smoothbore shotgun barrel. Confederate generals, including J.E.B. Stuart, carried these distinctive weapons. Colt Model 1861 Navy revolver, an updated .36 caliber version with lines similar to the 1860 Army. It replaced the earlier Navy model with improved manufacturing techniques. Colt Model 1848 Dragoon Revolver, a massive .44 caliber revolver developed from the even heavier Walker model. Cavalry dragoons appreciated its stopping power against charging horses. Star Model 1858 Revolver, a double-action revolver with a second trigger underneath the first. The Army later persuaded Star to create a single-action variant, purchasing 25,000 of them. Whitney Model 1857 Revolver, the first revolver produced with a solid frame, making it sturdier than Colt designs. This .36 caliber six-shooter gave officers a reliable sidearm. Savage North Model 1861 Navy Revolver, a proto-double-action with dual triggers. The Navy and some Army regiments used this unusual .36 caliber weapon. Beaumont Adams Model 1862 Revolver, a British import purchased by both sides. This double-action revolver offered faster firing than most American designs. Spiller and Burr Model 1861 Revolver, a cheaper Confederate copy of the Whitney using a bronze frame instead of iron. The steel cylinder was replaced with twisted iron to save scarce materials. Colt Model 1849 Pocket Revolver, never officially issued but widely purchased by officers and soldiers. This compact .31 caliber 5-shooter served as a personal backup weapon. Smith & Wesson Model 1, used as an alternative to larger Colt and Remington revolvers. These fired brass rimfire cartridges, making them among the first cartridge revolvers in military service. Le Faucheux Model 1854 Revolver, a French pinfire revolver imported by officers from both armies. The pinfire system was considered exotic but effective. Kerr Model 1855 Revolver, a 5-shot back-action revolver manufactured by London Armory Company. Confederate cavalry purchased these British imports when domestic production couldn't meet demand. Socket Bayonet Model 1855/1861, the most common edged weapon of the entire war. This 18-inch triangular blade locked onto the muzzle of Springfield and Enfield rifles, transforming them into lances. The 3-sided wound it created was extremely difficult for surgeons to treat. Bowie knife, often carried by Confederate soldiers instead of bayonets. These large fighting knives served both as weapons and utility tools for camp life. Model 1860, Light Cavalry Saber, the standard Union cavalry sword. This curved blade was specifically designed for slashing from horseback. Though cavalry increasingly relied on firearms, sabers remained vital for shock charges. Model 1840 Cavalry Saber, the heavier predecessor to the 1860 model. Confederate cavalry often carried these older weapons when newer designs were unavailable. Model 1850 Army Staff and Field Officer's Sword, the regulation officer's sword, though most officers preferred carrying cavalry sabers in actual combat. Southern officers sometimes carried ancestral blades from the Revolutionary War. Model 1832 Foot Artillery Sword, issued to artillerymen for close defense of their guns. Based on the Roman gladius, its short blade was effective in the cramped confines around artillery pieces. Model 1860 Cutlass, issued to naval boarding parties. Sailors also had access to harpoons, axes, and grappling hooks when fighting at sea or along rivers. Mameluke Sword, carried by Marine officers. These distinctive curved blades with ivory handles represented ceremonial tradition maintained even during wartime. 12-pounder Napoleon, the workhorse of Civil War battlefields. This smooth-bore bronze gun howitzer could fire solid shot, shell, spherical case, and canister. Its versatility made it the most popular field piece, with over 1,100 manufactured for the Union alone. 10-pounder Parrott rifle, a rifled iron cannon reinforced with a distinctive wrought iron band around the breech. Effective range reached nearly 3,000 yards. Both armies relied on these accurate field pieces. 3-inch ordnance rifle, also known as the Griffin gun. This wrought iron rifled piece combined the accuracy of rifled artillery with the reliability of traditional construction. Artillery crews praised its precision at long range. 20-pounder Parrott rifle, a heavier version with even greater range. These medium field pieces could reach targets beyond 4,000 yards, allowing batteries to dominate distant objectives. 6-pounder field gun, an older bronze smoothbore gun that remained in service throughout the war. While outranged by rifled pieces, its reliability and rapid rate of fire kept it valuable. 12-pounder howitzer model 1841, a short-barreled field piece designed for high-angle fire. It could lob shells over obstacles, making it perfect for siege warfare and defending field fortifications. 24-pounder howitzer, a heavier field howitzer that could devastate infantry formations with massive shells. Its weight limited mobility, but the firepower justified the sacrifice. Now, siege and garrison artillery. 30-pounder Parrott rifle, a formidable siege weapon capable of reaching 6,700 yards. These rifled monsters could breach fortifications that lighter field pieces couldn't touch. 24-pounder siege gun, the largest smoothbore that could still be moved by road. Siege trains relied on these heavyweight pieces to batter down fortress walls. 8-inch siege howitzer, firing 50-pound shells to ranges over 2,000 yards. These bronze howitzers provided heavy bombardment capability during prolonged sieges. 10-inch siege mortar, designed to lob 87-pound shells in high arcs. Mortars excelled at dropping projectiles behind fortifications and into trenches. Cohorn mortar, a small mortar light enough for 4 men to carry. Despite its portability, it could fire effective shells during trench warfare, as demonstrated at Cold Harbor. James rifle, an early rifled siege gun that saw service before being replaced by more reliable Parrott designs. The bronze rifling wore quickly under heavy use. 4.5-inch siege rifle, part of the early generation of rifled siege artillery. Though less common than Parrott rifles, these weapons could still demolish fortifications at extended range. Moving on to coastal artillery. Rodman gun, massive columbiads weighing up to 50,000 pounds. These monsters fired shells weighing over 400 pounds and defended major coastal fortifications. The largest versions had bores exceeding 15 inches. 10-inch columbiad, a heavyweight smoothbore designed for coastal defense. With a tube weight of 15,400 pounds, it could fire 128-pound solid shot over 5,000 yards. 8-inch columbiad, a smaller coastal defense piece still formidable enough to sink wooden warships. Its 65-pound projectiles could penetrate substantial ship armor. 100-pounder Parrott rifle, used for both coastal defense and naval service. The rifled barrel gave it superior accuracy against ships attempting to run past harbor defenses. 13-inch seacoast mortar, the largest mortar of the war. These massive pieces had to be disassembled and moved by rail or ship. They fired 200-pound shells on towering trajectories. 32-pounder seacoast gun, a standard coastal defense weapon. These smoothbores defended harbors throughout both the Union and Confederacy. Then, naval ordnance. Dahlgren smoothbore, the standard weapon of the U.S. Navy. These shell guns came in sizes from 8-inch to 11-inch bores. Their distinctive bottle shape allowed them to fire massive exploding shells that could devastate wooden warships. 9-inch Dahlgren, the mid-range naval gun that armed many Union monitors and ironclads. Weighing 9,000 pounds, it fired 72-pound shells designed to crack through armor plating. 11-inch Dahlgren, the heavyweight naval gun mounted on monitors like the USS Monitor. At 15,700 pounds with 136-pound shells, these monsters could penetrate ironclad armor at close range. 50-pounder Dahlgren rifle, a rifled version providing greater accuracy. Naval officers used these when precision mattered more than the massive destructive power of smoothbore shells. 100-pounder Parrott naval rifle, naval versions of the Army siege gun. These rifled pieces gave warships the ability to engage at extreme range with accuracy. 30-pounder Parrott naval rifle, a lighter naval rifle that could be mounted on smaller gunboats. River squadrons particularly favored these for their combination of accuracy and manageable weight. 12-pounder Dahlgren boat howitzer, specifically designed to mount on the bow of small boats. then transfer to field carriages in minutes. This versatility made it perfect for amphibious operations. Ketchum hand grenade, the most common grenade of the war. This dart-shaped explosive featured fins that stabilized its flight and ensured the percussion cap hit first. The Union purchased 90,000 in sizes ranging from 1 to 5 pounds. Adams grenade, a spherical percussion grenade. These saw use primarily during siege operations when soldiers could throw them into trenches or fortifications. Haynes Excelsior percussion grenade, another spherical design. Limited production meant these remained relatively rare compared to Ketchum grenades. Rains landmine. Called torpedoes during the war, these buried explosives terrorized Union troops. Confederate General Gabriel Rains pioneered their use despite many officers on both sides considering them uncivilized. Confederate naval mine. Matthew Fontaine Maury developed these underwater explosives that could sink Union ships. Mines sank more Union vessels than Confederate surface warships. Agar machine gun, nicknamed the coffee mill by Abraham Lincoln. This hand-cranked weapon fired 58 caliber rounds at 120 rounds per minute from a single barrel. Limited use saw it deployed mainly for defensive positions. Gatling gun, the most successful machine gun design. Its rotating barrel system could sustain 150 rounds per minute without overheating. Though Chief of Ordnance rejected official adoption, individual generals like Benjamin Butler purchased them. The New York Times even used Gatlings to defend their office during draft riots. Williams gun, a Confederate secret weapon that could fire 65 rounds per minute. Considered highly reliable except that the breech expanded after repeated firing, preventing proper locking. Billinghurst Requa battery, a volley gun with 25 barrels arranged in horizontal rows. A crew of 3 could fire 7 volleys per minute, though its exposed powder train made it vulnerable to weather. Congreve rocket, British rockets that saw resurgence with Confederate forces. Poor accuracy and reliability meant rocket battalions were eventually disbanded and rearmed with conventional artillery. Hale rocket, an improved design used by the Union. Spin stabilization made these more accurate than Congreve rockets, but they still couldn't match traditional artillery effectiveness. Calcium floodlight, used during the siege of Fort Wagner to illuminate the fortress for round-the-clock bombardment. These lights also helped spot Confederate blockade runners attempting to slip through Union naval patrols at night. Winan steam gun, the most bizarre weapon of the war. This contraption used centrifugal force rather than gunpowder to launch projectiles at a claimed 200 rounds per minute. First built by Ohio inventors, it was seized by Union forces but never saw combat and was eventually scrapped.